Oh, yeah. It is that time again. But the question is, where is Reaper? He is in a subterranean shithole somewhere in Calcutta. I don't know. But anyway, we want to welcome you all on this unholy testicle Tuesday to join us as we are counting down some of what we consider to be some of the most pinnacle debut albums that are in the doom metal genre. We talked a little bit about back on Sinful Sunday about which death metal band had like the most prolific debut, and we had to choose from about 10 of them. So we were like, you know what? We've never talked about that in every other subgenre, so here we are. And what was that? What was that day again? What is today?
Taint Tickler.
I may have to change it because everybody keeps saying that. But that works as well. So we got the whole fucking gambit here tonight. What is up, Kyler? What is up, Rebecca? What is up, Cody in the house? And of course, Mouse Bong.
Oh, that bong shit.
So you know what time it is. Share this out anywhere and everywhere that there is a metalhead not doing a damn thing on Holy Testicle Tuesdays. So we're going to take one quick commercial break just to keep our sponsors happy. Over to our brothers at Poison Valley Clothing. Check it out. Allahu Akbar! Oh, I put my jam on. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you guys are definitely big fans like I am of custom horror designs, please check out Poison Valley Clothing on Facebook, as they got some awesome, all original artwork. And for a very low price, high quality, and fast shipping, check him out. Dave is quite the man. All right. So we got a few, I'm not sure what's going on. Hey, what's happening, Jared? Motherfucking Refinery Films in the house. That's the wrong one. Let's try that again. There he is. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Shit. So Mousebong also happens to tell us that she is about to buy a 3D printer and a t-shirt printer, by the way. Door coming soon. Ooh, I like the sound of that. Hell yeah, absolutely. Hey, brother Aaron is in the house as well. Evil. Good to see everybody. And it was kind of crazy. You guys had like well over 100 comments the other night on Sinful Sunday, the goddamn program, which was so awesome. But the only way you get to know that those comments are there is if you go back and watch the show. You have to click live chat to see what was said during the show. It was probably the largest amount of folks that was watching us from YouTube. So we thank you guys. I like a fuck ton. You guys rock. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of kick it off a little bit. When we think about the start of metal, I mean, again, we're talking about a rich 50 to almost 60 years of metal. That is where we're heading, folks. And it's like hard to believe, right? But, doom metal, which no one intended on creating, kind of got created at the very beginning within the first 20 years. I know there's a huge argument there, but you cannot deny that between the decade of the 70s and the decade of the 80s solidified what we know as doom metal today, which means we have so many doom metal artists that had groundbreaking debut albums. So we're kind of ranking them in our own special way. And we obviously want you guys out there, the beautiful addicts, to tell us what doom metal debut records for some of these bands that you feel should be in this as well, because I mean, there's a lot of them. This was super tough, and each of us got 6. So I know I said we were going to do 10, but we're doing 12. So fuck it. I'm going to let my brother Adversary Khan kick that shit off for us.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm not going chronologically or anything like that, but perhaps the album that I have listened to the most, hands down, is somebody that Reaper interviewed about 7 months ago on Reaper's Underground. And
yes, sir.
I remember, so this album came out in July of 1991. They actually recorded most of it like a year and a half before, and they had such a hard time getting a label. Like a label would say, yeah, we're going to put it out, and they wouldn't put it out. Finally, they got signed to Road Racer Records, which was like kind of the creme de la creme of Road Racer or Road Runner.
Yes. Road Runner
record. They got signed to that. I saw it in Metal Maniacs in an advertisement in like the December or January episode of 1992. And I went out and bought it. I remember the day I bought it on cassette. And I remember the day I went out and sat in the pine straw out in the woods and listened to this with an old Sony Walkman headphones. And I loved it 100%. This album to me is like a really good mix if you took a higher range vocals like kind of Geddy Lee and you mixed it with Metallica's melodicism and Candlemass. And what you get is Solitude Aeternus, Into the Mirror Darkly. Oh, it's a darn glory when I screwed up. but they get the gist of it here. This album, 5 out of 5 stars, hands down, and this is their fucking debut. Rob Lowe is the vocalist on here, an amazing vocalist that went on to play for Candlemass. If you want, you can go back through YouTube. Reaper's got it archived in there, and you can watch the interview with Rob Lowe.
Such an awesome man.
This band was founded by John Perez, and he left about 10 years after starting it. But they're talking about maybe getting back together. There has been some rumblings. John Perez is involved in another podcast. They have several shows, and they have actually talked about this. I would love for them to get together. Their last album, I think it was 2004, and it's an album called Alone, which is a good album, maybe a 3 out of 5 stars, 3.5 out of 5 stars. But I'm telling you guys, this one and the follow-up, which is Beyond the Crimson Horizon, is a 4.5 out of 5 stars. But to me, the 3 top songs that I love out of that album more than any of the others, and I love every single one of them. It's beautiful. They have acoustic guitar, really melodic solos. And the 3 songs are Opaque Divinity, Where Angels Dare to Tread, and Mirror of Sorrow. I guarantee you, you may not like the sound of the album, but you're going to hear quality when you hear this. The solos, the song structure, how catchy they are. Rob Lowe's clean vocals are just beautiful. What say you guys? Have you guys heard of this album? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And by the way, I can't see the comments tonight because I'm on my stupid iPad due to that fucker that stole my fucking iPhone.
That's okay. We're going to hurt him. We're going to hurt him in unimaginable ways.
Yes.
Oh,
Beelzebub says, so you will absolutely love it. They're from Arlington, Texas as well.
Yeah. Rob Lowe has got such a body of work that is undeniable. He is known as basically the king of doom metal vocals, and there's a reason for that. If you guys check this record out, whether you like Candlemass or you like Solitude better, personally, I think with Solitude, it's really the best fit for him. Although he did have some kick-ass, fucking records with Candlemass, but this is real special. So this is Rob Lowe at his best vocally, and the musicianship is hands down nice and fucking heavy. Can't say enough about it. And if you want to learn more about that, like Adversary Khan said there, go back, watch the interview, because dude, I felt like I was in the presence of greatness, and such a down-to-earth human. He's Texan way, you'll love him. And he's unapologetic at the same time. He's very, very big-ass guy. But definitely, if you don't have this one, check it out, man. Check out their catalog. Very cool stuff. Cody says, I haven't heard of it, but I'll check it out for sure.
And
hell yeah.
This is out of all of the albums that I've ever listened to, this is the album that deserves more recognition out of any other band, out of any other album in existence, in my opinion. This is the most underrated metal album of all time to me.
Hell yeah.
So there you go.
Again, as a doom metal lover, if you haven't checked this out, we urge you to do so, because vocally it's different. It's not necessarily the 80s like voice that you would think of, but it's a powerful voice. He's got a great range, and the band is heavy doom, nice and slow, excellent guitar solos. I think you guys will definitely dig this one. So we have a few already out here. Aaron says, see a strange place I saw threads of metal is a Phantom of the Paradise. Somebody super like you, and that was, 1974. Whoa, okay. Definitely we'll have to check that out. Mousebong says, I'm fucking ready. Pentagram, St. Vitus, Trouble, and Sabbath. Nah, you are definitely right on the money with that. She says, I miss buying metal mags. Yeah, me too. Big time. Also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Beelzebubs wants to throw Ghost in there as well.
I almost spit my Diet Coke out. That was so bad. Um, Aaron says, it's like for me till I was working on the movie, I got to hear Silver Tongue Death. No, Silver Tongue Devil Deaths. No, let me try again. Silver Tongue Devil's Death Eaters became like my mantra for getting into character. Badass. You got a resounding hell no. But what I'm about to bring up is probably gonna be, for some people, they might give me shit for it, but you know me, I'm the big bad devil daddy. I don't give a fuck. This is how I feel. When I was firmly introduced to my measuring stick as far as doom metal, and I see that it didn't end up somehow into this, but that's okay. So I will definitely just have to tell you because that's okay. I thought I had it. Anyway, when I was, man, I want to say about 7 or 8 years old, and I was just getting into drumming. My gateway song was a powerful Iron Man. When I heard that song, it was like nothing I had ever heard before. The crooning vocals of Ozzy, Bill Ward just beating the fuck out of them drums, made him sound like he had a 20-piece kit. No. He had like 4 fucking drums, 2 crash cymbals, a ride, and a hi-hat. And I was like, this is what I need to do with my life. I knew at 7, 8 years old, this is what I want to do. And then I got to go to the record store for the first time. And I was looking for more Sabbath records. So the measuring stick for me, the most important doom metal record I feel is to doom metal in general. But even if it's not the top in some people's categories, I still feel like it's a measuring stick. Because even with Black Sabbath's first 2 records, yeah, they have the elements of doom, but this particular record, I think, is, I don't know, more celebrated in the true doom fashion, and that's Master of Reality by Black Sabbath. That is the measuring stick, rhythmically, chuggingly. I mean, the riffing that you're getting out of Tony Iommi on this record is so doom-laden, with the long vibratos, the open chords. The drumming is just fucking superb. I mean, there's just nothing else I can really say about that. Songs like, in one moment you can celebrate with Sweet Leaf, and then with After Forever, you're getting taken into a more kind of like upbeat, almost kind of like just, it single-handedly created the head nod. Geezer just pounding that bass with his fingers, man. I mean, and then it like has almost like a I don't know what you would call it, almost like a punk vibe in the beginning. And then bring that drop the fucking bottom out. That's why when Pseudocidal Tendencies did a cover of this, I was like, that was the perfect fucking band to do it, because you can tell that they were really inspired by that song as young musicians. And then how can you not talk about Children of the Grave? I mean, it became a staple rhythm for every doom metal band in the future. You know what I mean? And it just talked about the end of apocalypse and like what the world was going to look like, after that decade. And then, of course, Lord of this World, how fucking so evil, so like, you could tell that they were against organized religion and like talking about so many different things that were so heavy, just heavy in and of itself. It made it heavy. And then to end it with Into the Void, the greatest doom metal song, in my opinion, ever written, especially in that decade. Everyone has tried to have their Into the Void. That song will always be the one that was my go-to if I wanted to get so heavy but so slow. If that makes sense. So, Adversaricon.
Dr. No did a really good cover of Into the Void. It was an album that came out in like 1988, and they did a really good job with it as well. I don't know if any of you have listened to Dr. No. They were kind of a crossover metal band,
Yep.
but you know, kind of rooted in punk, but they were still pretty metal for the most part.
I'm so jealous, Cody. Cody says I have Master of Reality on vinyl. Ha! I wish. So when my birthday comes around this year, everybody out there in Morgrot Universe, I would love it.
I have that too on vinyl.
Now I'm double jealous. What's up? What's up, Crystal? Good to see you. But you know, I mean, this album just has everything. If you're like a stoner, if you're like somebody that was just wanting to like listen to something that could raise the devil, or just the end of apocalypse or into the apocalypse, like there's just nothing better than to put this record on. And there's chill songs too. Fucking Embryo.
It's beautiful. Yep.
So fucking cool, which was like a Russian what do you call it? A folk song, you know? Just amazing. I don't know. So if you haven't gotten down to this particular record out of Sabbath's catalog, I highly recommend you do it. Make sure, like Adversaricon always says, put in those earbuds, the good ones, and just let the album take you to another world. Because as a kid, and I couldn't get no smoke and I couldn't get no drink, but damn it, that album, I put those earphones on at night and it catapulted me into the abyss.
That album is 5 out of 5 stars, without a doubt. But on Weed, it is 10 out of 5 stars.
Almost spit it out again. Yes. Nothing makes Sweet Leaf pop more than that. That's for sure. Let's see. Cody says there's a store outside Nashville. I found it at. We'll have to check it out when I come there. Hell yeah, dude. I haven't been to a good record store in aeons. Oh, Mousebong has it on vinyl also. Only time you'll see me shed a tear, goddamn.
So damn good. So damn.
Oh my goodness, this is great. So Crystal says on weed, LOL, and then her hubby there says on weed. I mean, whatever works best for you, but I just know that record will take you places, musically, mentally, emotionally. The pummeling riffs, the drums, the changes, the rhythmic changes. I mean, it's just going to take you everywhere.
Yeah, for me, the reason why I like especially doom metal when I'm smoking is because some of the bands can be super repetitive. Now, the ones I've listed here, I can listen to without weed, but there's some like Yob, and there's a few others that I have to be on weed to listen to, and then it's pretty fucking amazing because of how repetitive they can be. But if I'm high, then it makes it even better. All right, so all the ones that I've chosen were debut albums. So, and not by accident, I purposely chose debut albums. So the next one I'm going to talk about is a fucking pioneering masterpiece. So unique, ahead of their fucking time. This album came out on the 5th of February, 1990. They had recorded it in November of 1989. It has it's the album that followed it was called Gothic. But this band, after they produced these first two albums, Gothic and Lost Paradise, they went kind of soft, and I left them until about 2015. This is what I gave them. But in 2015, they came back and they've put out three amazeballs fucking albums in a row. I fucking love them again now. Now they're mixing clean vocals with the death metal vocals, but it's so beautiful. Like their last three albums are outstanding, but this album is a fucking pioneer. It is the first Death Doom and the first Funeral Doom album ever produced that at least I know of, and I've watched all kinds of podcasts and people going through them, and a lot of people don't even mention this fucking album, and it's amazeballs. I'm talking about Paradise Lost, Lost Paradise. Oh, I sent another one that's blurry.
Sorry.
This album, this CD is a little bit harder to find, but this one is outstanding throughout. It starts off with a bit of an intro. All of the songs are pretty long on it because it has such a slow pace, but it's really chuggy. The vocals are super raw. The guitars are super raw. Nick Holmes is the vocalist, and he is just an outstanding, amazing vocalist. Whether he's singing clean like he does on the new albums today or his death metal. And he's also the vocalist for Bloodbath, if you guys know Bloodbath. I fucking love Bloodbath. They're outstanding as well. The guitarist had hair down to like his nutsack. Just really, really long hair. And I remember seeing this in like 1990, like watching a video of him, or 1991, and just be like, man, that dude's hair's fucking long. And he looked like a fucking vampire too. But his name is Gregor McIntosh, and he did vocals for another band that I love that's out fucking standing, and that is Valenfire. Valenfire broke up like 3 or 4 years ago, which was pretty sad, but they put out 3 amazeballs albums. But Paradise Lost, Lost Paradise is outstanding. Any song is a great one to go to. Deadly Inner-Sense is the first full-length song. Then they have a song called the title of their band is a song, Paradise Lost. It has really eerie backing vocals, and it has really dissonant guitars. And then Rotting Misery is so fucking doomy. This Rotting Misery is Funeral Doom. And this shit was written in 1988. They did 3 demos until they got signed by Peaceville Records and put out their first 2 albums. And then they went on to some other record label I'd never heard of. And I didn't like them for about 20 years, but I love them now. Would love to see them. I've never seen them.
Just all the way around, one of the really, really great, like you said, pretty much the first Death Doom band, because it was one of those bands that you really could, if you were into heavy music, but you were also a doom metal fan, that it could grab somebody who was into early death metal and definitely into doom, but taking out those vocals that seemed a little bit operatic, which is what kind of, Candlemass gave us at the start of the 80s and moving us into the 90s. That's kind of like what the staple was. So you were able to get more aggressive vocals with Paradise Lost. And that's kind of always been one of the things I loved about them, is because I always did feel that if the song is strong enough, and there's been some like thrash bands and some heavier bands that had more harsh vocals, but they still had slow parts here and there. And I was like, well, what if Doom had that? And I feel like this band single-handedly, like you said, created that kind of atmosphere, the opening gates for heavier bands to slow down but keep that fire going. And Paradise Lost definitely did that. Oh my damn, so many fucking comments. This is just uncanny, unholy. I love it. Everyone is definitely feeling the Paradise Lost for sure. There has been quite the talk of listening to Sweet Leaf while baked. Aaron says, I'm smoked like brisket currently. Mouseball says, I have dabs that look like straight crystal boogers. Cheers. I absolutely love that.
Oh, yeah.
You are as fuck as usual. Crystal says, I classify as permanently bred baked at all times. And that's okay. We love that. Let's see. And Mouseball goes on to say, they are one of the first Doom bands I ever got into. And that's why I was saying, like, Paradise Lost was definitely one of those gateway bands for those that were into the heavier vibe. And that's okay, Aaron. You said you kind of looked like a vampire in the 90s. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. And Mouseball says, I got bullied for looking like a vamp in school. That's okay. It was a movement. Digging says 90s were a long ass decade. It totally was. They were such a great pivotal moment in metal's history, my opinion. Mousebong says, since Beast mentioned Paradise Lost, can I ask you guys if you Anathema? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He says, I was a kid in the 90s, but tried being a metalhead in the early 2000s in a pod punk. I think he meant pop punk ass town.
Podunk.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry. That I don't always catch on right away. Man, I feel for you. I was a teenager who I graduated high school in 95. So it was the time of Pantera. It was the time of Down. It was the time of all kinds of different metal bands that were new to the game, but also some budding subgenres at the same time. We had Sleep come out in the 90s, which changed a lot. We talked about Solitude Eternus and so many great doom metal albums coming out during that time. Not every single one being a debut, mind you, but still. So the reason I chose Master of Reality, even though that wasn't Sabbath's debut record, I chose it because I felt that album, they found themselves. That is the reason I chose that.
To me, the best doom metal song ever was Black Sabbath, because that's the first one they have on. It's the first track on the album, and it's so fun. It is the creepiest, darkest out of all of their songs, in my opinion. It's so slow in that rain and the thunder coming in. And it does change tempo, which I always like when you pick up the tempo. that was one of my first songs that I ever learned, and that little part was a little tricky for me, but learning that little quick part made so many other songs easier to play.
Musically, I absolutely agree with you. As far as Geezer, Bill, and Tony laying it down. But for Ozzy's voice, Ozzy didn't find his voice until Master of Reality. And it just got better and better from there. Achilles, what's going on, brother? Good to see you.
Yeah, I love Master of Reality is my favorite Black Sabbath album, but that first song though, man.
Planet Caravan definitely on the Paranoid album was definitely a hardcore jam, but I don't think that they totally found themselves until that Megatron of a fucking record, man. Something about Master Reality just trumps, no point, pun intended, but trumps all their earlier efforts. And for me, it's just a super fucking special record. All right, but the rest that are on my list, when we talk about doom metal, and since we've been really harping on the 90s here with it, I'm going to go ahead and offer my 90s gift of some of the darkest, yet sometimes so melodic, and let's face it, one of the most recognizable, hard to ever replicate again, is the Bloody Kisses album by the late, great Typo Negative. There are moments on this record, and especially if you get the special edition that has a lot of the extra songs that the original cut did not give out. Peter Steele, oh my goodness. We get past the hair, we get past the 20-inch song, and everything else is just an amazing fucking doom record. The great guitar playing is there. His bass tone is set a new standard in bass tones, I think, at that point. A little bit like some parts Lemmy, some parts fucking Geezer Butler, and then him. It was just like a kind of like a, I don't know. And the voice, having that huge, deep baritone voice, really, and as slow as they could drag out them chords, man, you literally felt like you were on your way to death, even though it wasn't harsh vocals. Sometimes Peter could bring it that way, but it never overshadowed the fact that they could be melodic, and when they did, and everything was so cryptic and corpse-like, it kind of like catapulted them into goth a little bit, but at its core, though, it's just good doom fucking metal. Had to throw that in.
I still feel like it's more of on the gothic side. It has doomy elements, but to me, it's always felt more gothic and kind of rock and roll at times as well. But great album. But when they covered Black Sabbath, damn, that song is so.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's fucking amazing.
But honestly, every album after, to me, got doomier and doomier. And I mean, this was like that pivotal record for them. Nobody even like talks about the first two. Nobody even like remembers those.
Yeah.
They started at Bloody Kisses, and it got better from there. I do agree with the whole idea of the October Rust record that came after. There was a lot of romantical themes, but lyrically, it was very diabolical. The whole album is about loving a woman, killing her, and then moving on and being fucking, cursed by her ghost for life afterwards. So very demonic. But I don't know. It was just one of those bands, man. Just, I don't know. Gave doom metal a whole different side, a darker side, which I really dug.
Yeah, and it's like Typo Negative is so unique sounding. Like nobody sounds like them to me. Like I really can't compare them to anybody. They're so authentic and unique. But it's also like it's an album that I can be in all kinds of moods to get into. Like I can almost listen to them at any time, any song. I don't care. It's going to be a good time.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I am going to stay in the early 90s, and this is a very underrated. Yeah, I've been in like 1990 or 1991 for my first three. This is an album that I get fucking pissed off when I watch these people who have thousands and thousands of followers do doom metal or death doom. And to me, they're wrong because these guys really weren't death doom for this debut album. They were fucking funeral doom, and they were the most funeral doom out of perhaps any fucking funeral doom album that's ever existed. And I'm talking about Cathedral. Cathedral's Forest of Equilibrium. This fucking album is so good. 5 out of 5 stars. It came out on the 14th of October. Nope.
Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry.
It came out on the 14th of October in 1991. They formed with Lee Dorian on 88 when he left Napalm Death. And it took him a couple years to get everything built up and for them to get more of a name, and then for Earache Records to sign them. I was an Earache Records dude. When Earache Records put something out, I went and bought it, and there were very few albums that I didn't like. Like there were so many damned good bands on Earache Records that I loved. Bolt Thrower, Napalm Death, Carcass, Cathedral, Terrorizer, Godflesh. I mean, there were
definitely Terrorizer. Yes,
he did a great job in the beginning with that record label. It was pioneering, and they had the Grind Crusher tour, and then they put out an album for the Grind Crusher. It was so damned good. But Cathedral is one that is left off all of the time, and it's one of my pet peeves. It fucking pisses me off. This fucking album is 5 out of 5 stars. It's outstanding. It's fucking slow. It's fucking dark. It's melancholic. It also makes you feel like you're tripping big time on shrooms in a forest.
Absolutely.
What say everybody in the comments section and the replay?
Shit. Cathedral for me is definitely very high up there. There isn't really a bad record that I've ever heard come out of them. They're not a go-to for me, but I mean there are certain albums that hit me a little bit more, and I also found them later because of where I was musically at the time in the 90s, but later into the 2000s, going back, I found some of these other bands that I was like, you know what, these guys are very cool. And they're usually, it would happen by somebody suggesting them to me. Because I mean, I was just so fucking Black Sabbath and down at the time that there wasn't much I listened to other than Sabbath, fucking down, Cannibal Corpse, Cradle of Filth. So it was just like I was constantly bouncing between those. But once I did find them, and I do agree that they are a very underrated band. There's a lot of elements that I do like, very much so. Oh, that's awesome. Mousebong says I was on the Earache Records street team. Remember street teams? Yes. How could we forget? It was those motherfuckers that were pushing to get anyone and everyone to know about them. And Earache Records was, I mean, a plethora of awesome fucking bands. Aaron says, I hope my wife makes me a statue to scare guests and she can always listen to my albums because I love my wife. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Yeah. Digging says, 1990 was Sepultura, Ministry, that world for me, I guess, a little mainstream. Well, Ministry was still kind of like underground at that time. They got some play on Headbangers Ball. That's one thing we can say, hey, glad we did that. Because otherwise people wouldn't have known. Once he put that metal element into what they were doing, it caught on with the metalheads. So I don't see anything wrong with that. Because definitely people probably wouldn't have liked the traditional goth music that they were doing in the very beginning. But who can honestly say out there in the attics didn't get down to Every Day is Halloween? At least that's just that one. The rest of it was absolute shit. I miss Headbangers Ball also. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely time for me to get hardcore because some people are saying it out in the comment section, and I fucking love you guys so much for that. So I'm gonna have to go with my next one, and you guys are making this so fucking difficult. But god damn it, how can we not talk about Saint fucking Vitus? Nope, wrong one. Sorry. My pad is not the best. There we go. Saint Vitus, I swear they took their name from a Sabbath song. The sheer heaviness without so much the fuzz, so much more metal, in my opinion, that they weren't trying to just carry on the same sound. I love their use of like more metal guitar, not using orange amps, probably like Marshall or Mesa Boogie or some shit like that. Just theorizing from what I've heard because it's like I can recognize heads just by hearing songs, but I am no guitar guy. I'm a drummer, but still. Again, I didn't like the stale snare drum sound. And of course, toms are much boomier, during the 80s. But this album is very prolific. If you haven't gotten down to Saint Vitus, there's a lot that you're going to dig. The vocals are not super clean. It has an edginess to it and bringing kind of heavy to another level. So that is definitely my next one.
Yep, good one. I got into them in 1988. Somebody mentioned them in Metal Maniacs magazine, and I was like,
Metal Maniacs was the shit.
Hell yeah, it was really good. I got published in there one time, just in the letters to the editor, talking about Bad Brains.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to go backstage with Bad Brains, and they were snorting heroin in the back. They offered me some, but I was like, no thanks. I didn't even know what it was. It was this brown mound of super fluffy powder, and they were ripping it.
So glad you did not get down to Mr. Brownstone. Because that would have been probably the end. My goodness. But I mean, we're talking about bands that took that traditional doom sound, and really elevating it to a heavier kind of level just in the riffing alone. Those big open chords, brilliant guitar lead, thick ass bass sound. Although with Saint Vitus, it was a little under where I like, but still kind of in the forefront.
It was something I got into because it was slower, but it was still really, really heavy. The Brown Eye from Brunei. I remember that last night.
Right. Oh, cool. You made it, brother. Paul Nada in the house. What is up, brother? Yeah, Digging says, Bad Brains, hell yeah, but fuck that dope. Exactly right. But, when I think of Doom's Big Four, Saint Vitus is in that realm.
Yep, good band. Never made it super, super big, but really one that definitely needs to be spoken about. And like, we're going to have to leave several that are really, really good. But
big time.
Let's see, where do I want to go now? All right, let's go to 2006.
Oh no.
And this is a band that is a funeral doom band out of Germany. It's a band that had an amazing fucking album out in 2023, The Coral Tombs. It's so damned good. And this album is equally as good. This is a 5 out of 5 stars album, guaranteed. It is very haunting, atmospheric, and beautiful. And it makes you feel you're in the ocean at different times as well. Like below the water, above the water, a calm sea, a quiet sea right after a big storm, like really low death metal vocals. But this is Funeral Doom. Every song is in between 10 and 12 and a half minutes long. And I never get bored listening to this. It may not be for everybody, but due to the length, but I like the length on this. It's really, really atmospheric. Another Amazeballs album to be high as a kite on when you listen to it, because it's so slow and it's so atmospheric. You go somewhere else. Like, I want to try this one on shrooms as well, because of how atmospheric it is, and the water. And I love water. I'm a dive master, and I have hundreds of dives. I love the ocean. I love diving at nighttime too, which is super creepy. There we are. The Call of the Wretched Sea. This album is amazing, as is every single album they have ever put out. Go and buy this album if you haven't heard it before. These guys are amazing. Listen to it with headphones. Listen to it in the dark as well, like at nighttime, and just picture yourself in the ocean with them.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I definitely said about the record as well. Once you had hipped me to it, that I definitely could feel like it's taking us into an underworld that we're not familiar with. It will fuck with your sensibilities, and you can't deny the heaviness, man. Those vocals, god damn. Go ahead.
And how slow it is. And one of the things they do is they have two guitarists. So one is playing really slow power chords, and the other one is playing melodic, dissonant single notes. And it fits so well. So flippin' beautiful.
So good. Let's see. Mousebonk says Coral Tombs is an amazing record. Definitely sounds like playing Dark Souls underwater, especially if you've ever played that video game, Most Def. Apparently, Crystal says Whippets Beast. Whippets. That's the shit. Oh man, just an amazing record. Definitely in my catalog forever. It's taken Doom to a new level. That is for sure.
So dare I say a new level of sophistication too. Really, that's a sophisticated band.
Instrumentally, it is by far just like nothing you've ever heard. And that old adage of sometimes less is more is very evident on this record because it's so powerful. How long it takes for you to hear that damn crack of the snare. You're thinking, oh, what is happening next? Where are we going? You know, it's like if these little, sea monsters just dragged you off to the cold water abyss. Definitely check that record out. Here's another one that unfortunately I somehow forgot to put into the slides, but I don't think it needs really that big of an introduction because everyone is familiar with this. So many times Southern Doom gets overlooked because it has a certain different kind of feel to it, sometimes between the slow and more upbeat type stuff. And it started out as a super group. And many times, we've talked about super groups where a bunch of guys get together from some pretty big staple bands. They get together to create something different. And when this got created, no one knew what to expect because the lead vocalist was a big screamer for a pretty major metal band. Nice try, Mousebomb. She says super joint ritual. No, because that was a little bit more punk than Doom. Yes. Of course, we're talking about the band Down with Phil Anselmo, Pepper Keenan from fucking COC, and of course, Crowbar's guitarist, Winstead, however you say his name. He's fucking badass. And then, of course, the drummer from I Hate God. So, and forgive me for forgetting all the names, but damn it. We know what we're talking about here. When this record hit, no one really expected what was going to happen. And what a debut record is this the album NOLA. We have nothing but hit after hit after hit. And I'm not talking mainstream people. I'm talking, this is down like fucking Doom that we have not really encountered because it has like some classic rock elements. It has Southern rock elements, but damn it, it's got some seriously good, slow Doom riffage. Just chug a fucking licious. The bass is fantastic. And to hear the vocal range come out of Phil instead of just wah, 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 wah. We're getting clean vocals mixed with a little bit of the harsh at the same time. I don't know. This record definitely changed my perception going forward, and instantly became part of, my listening and practicing material. It's so simplistic too. And the beautiful dual leads sometimes that you get in a lot of these songs between Winstead and Pepper are just fucking breathtaking. And then all of a sudden they drop the bottom out and you feel like you just got sucked out of your soul. And simple fucking drumming. It is so effective, so tasty. The fills are tasty. If you haven't gotten down to, let me try that again. If you haven't gotten with this record yet, because that was so many puns, I definitely recommend you check it out. Yes, Stone the Crow, Eyes of the South, Hail the Leaf, and come on, man, fucking Bury Me in Smoke. If you haven't gotten down, I mean, that's like the pot smoker's anthem for the ages. Bury Me in Smoke. Check it out. Oh yeah, Paul, definitely. Witch Tripper was bad fucking ass. Very Sabbath kind of style. And there's a lot of moments that I feel that they went very Sabbathy. Right. Witchfinder General. Let's see. God damn, there's so many comments. How do I get through it? But most deaf, if you haven't gotten with this record, give it a shot. Maybe a double shot.
Yeah, it's a really good album. This is an album that I was guilty of buying years ago, and I listened to it with a shitty sound system, and I didn't like it that much. And Reaper kept talking about these guys, and so I went back to it, and it is an outstanding album. Really, really good album, and especially on the Devil's Lettuce. It's very good.
Absolutely. And they got hella doomier even more so on the second album. But it also got really heavy too, like chug wise. You know, there's great fucking records. But it's different. But you can't deny those fucking slow breakdowns. And I think Reed Mullen had a lot to do with how they put those songs together, because I could really fucking hear, you know, some Reed Mullen from COC and some of those really slow grooves. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's really tasty how he does, how he fills, and just his snare, and he hits hard. He really wants to have an old school, he always wanted to have an old school percussive sound, like early 80s, late 70s kind of kid type of sound. He wasn't one looking for the modern sound in his kit.
No.
And he hit fucking.
And what's crazy is that they recorded this record, NOLA, on an 8-track, and then Phil Anselmo in his living room did the vocals on like a 4-track, and then they mixed it all together. It was very kind of, you know, basement put together, but everybody dug the shit out of it. It's crazy. Hell yeah. Yeah, and I do agree with that also, Mouse Bong. That's a great point. Fine line between doom and sludge in the South.
Yep.
Big time.
All right. Well, let's see. Why don't we stay with the South? And we're going to go to Babylon, who is unfortunately absent tonight.
Ah!
That's what you get, Babylon. He'll come back and watch it later and probably have a chuckle at that. But I'm going to talk about a band that we just talked about, an album that came out 3 weeks ago that's really, really good. And
yes.
Their first album is called Sorrow and Extinction, and I'm talking about Pallbearer out of Arkansas. This came out on the 12th of February, 2012. It is really hard to pick a favorite Pallbearer album, especially for the first 3. The 4th album I wasn't a terribly huge fan of, but I really liked the 5th, which is the newer one. But the first 3, this is the first one. It is so damned good. It's the most raw and the heaviest out of all of their albums. But the vocalist Brett Campbell, his vocals are just haunting, beautiful, and clean. Every song on the album is outstanding. All of the songs are pretty long on this album as well. So you're going to hit some 10 minutes, 7 minutes, and I think maybe a 12-minute song in there as well. Foreigner is the first full song on there, and then they have The Legend, which is really, really good. But this is a band, if you need a break from the heavy vocals and the super, super darkness, you get some darkness, but this darkness is a little bit more melancholic. But
yes,
and beautiful. Just, I love Brett Campbell's vocals. So beautiful and haunting. Outstanding album to me. This is 4.5 out of 5 stars, maybe 5 out of 5 stars. Really, really good album.
absolutely. And, you know, I absolutely agree that it's really hard to pick a top favorite or, you know, anything like that, because I feel like all of these have been favorites, as I'm sure Adversaricon also feels that way through and through. Pallbearer was a group that Adversaricon got me into really well, and just awesome fucking doom metal. And they've gotten themselves to a creative point where they wrote one of the most beautifully dark records that a band like that could put together, and step out of their roots. It's so fucking hard, you know, doom-wise, that, I mean, anyone that's a fan of doom could definitely get down to this record. And of course, we have so many comments. It's hard to get to them all. But let's see here. Oh, bye, Crystal. Good to see you. She's got chores to do. I don't know what that is, but that's okay. Cody says here, Pallbearer is going to be in Memphis this Thursday. I'm contemplating going to work, then the concert, just to come home and go back to work. Show is at 8:30. Well, I guarantee you'll have a good time at the show, brother. Definitely, if you're a big doom metal fan, you will dig it, without a doubt. But there is one, yeah.
They're playing Omaha July 12th. So hopefully I will have my ass in Omaha by then, and
that would be
go see that show.
Because I'm actually free that way.
It'll be great. It'll be so heavy. Like, Reaper, you will feel the bass way more than they have it developed in the albums, and it works so well. It makes their show so fucking heavy and so dirty. And then they have actually 2 vocalists. Like when they sang Worlds Apart from their second album, I recorded it. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, holy shit,
damn.
That's awesome. Now, some of us have mentioned this, and this is kind of a twofer, because, you know, I know too many. I'll have to use the one as an honorable mention, of course. But you know, in 1993, there got together one of the most prolific doom metal bands of that time from England. Go figure. But they're more on the stoner doom tip. But no one can say that this record isn't so fucking fuzz-alicious, just so powerful of a record. And they have a beautiful, beautiful female vocalist whose voice just echoes an eternity on this thing. And of course, we're talking about Electric fucking Wizard. Bam! Dope Throne still to this day serves as a staple record of where Doom could go and what could be, you know, taking all the other bands that have come from, England, especially during the 70s and, through the 80s as well, that carried that signature sound, and they just took it so fucking fuzzy. You almost, I don't know. If fuzz was a drug, man, you'd be fuzzed out. That's all I can really say. To the point of it's so dark sounding, and then her vocals over top. They're just, I don't know what to say. Come My Fanatics. So many great tracks. I don't know. It's heavy. It's super fucking fuzzy. So if you like a little bit of classic sound with being put on steroids, this is definitely the record for you. And then my one, oh, go ahead.
I think I might say that they are the fuzziest band around.
I don't think anybody can beat them.
No.
And it's so heavy laden fuzz that I don't know. It competes on all fronts, and they're definitely in a class of their own. But if we're going to talk about them, we also kind of have to mention Pentagram. These guys are just, they have a classic flair, but they have a heavier sense to them. The lead vocalist, in my opinion, is just the epitome of insanity. When he stands there and his eyeballs are bugging out of his head, you just think that they're going to conjure something from the abyss. But just a great fucking band as well. And they are very much considered as part of that big four of Doom. Another vocalist that just really stands out. And it's kind of interesting to see that when they talk about the big four of Doom, they never mention Sabbath in them. And I almost think that's because Sabbath is in a class of their own, which is totally fine with me because honestly, let's be real, the 80s is what really solidified what doom metal music is today. And Pentagram is definitely in that.
Yeah, Pentagram's a band I'm going to have to go back and give a second chance because what I've heard I was kind of bored with, but that could be that it was the wrong stereo that I listened to it on, or maybe I was distracted.
It's quite possible. That's just amazeballs, Mouse Bong. She says, the first time I saw Pentagram, Bobby was late because he got arrested for possession of crack. I mean, that would explain the fact that he is literally a walking, talking skeleton on stage. I mean, I think I could literally fit my hand around his leg. That's how thin this man is. But nonetheless, they're a good time. I wouldn't really put them up there with Candlemass because Candlemass is like so much heavier than them. But I feel like if you like that classic 70s kind of doom sound, I think Pentagram definitely carried that on into the 80s.
Mm-hmm. All right, my last one is a band from Sweden, and this band is death doom through and through. They always have been, and at times they kind of venture into funeral doom as well. Every album is really, really well produced. The snare stands out as it should. The guitars are clear. It's down-tuned. It's really fucking heavy. but it's not fuzzy. This is another band that's not using orange amps. They use more of a kind of tone, like a down-tuned tone that a death metal band would use. And their debut album is fucking amazeballs. Like a 5 out of 5. Once again, they've grabbed old school death metal and turned it into something new, and it's like perfection. It's really good. And their second album is outstanding. The only one I haven't really liked is their latest one, the Tritonus Bell, I think is what it's called. It came out 2 years ago. I liked it, but I didn't care for it as much. It was less doomy and more melodic. And it wasn't as filthy, dark, or dirty as the other albums. And I'm talking about Hooded Menace, Fulfill the Curse. It came out in 2008. It's their debut album. It's a harder one to come across these days. And they use that hooded kind of skull, as you can see in their album name, which I like quite a bit.
A Reaper of sorts.
Yeah. So every song on this album is outstanding, but I particularly like Rotting Rampage. And then they have a song called Hooded Menace that's really, really good. And Grasp of the Beast Woman. Maybe Mousebong is also the Beast Woman. She's Beelzebub's Mousebong and the Beast Woman. I think she's a beastly lady.
I love it.
But if you heard her voice, you would not hear the beast. Mousebong has like the sweetest, most dainty little voice in the world. But I guess you wouldn't expect a cave monster to come out of my voice either. I have a pretty clean, gentle, chill voice.
No.
I can do the cave monster and the fucking black witch as well.
Right. This is one band that I've heard tossed around a lot, that I really need to go and listen to this first record, because it's definitely in my wheelhouse. That's one thing I really love in my doom, contrary to popular belief, because I feel that I'm still stuck in the 70s. But when it comes to doom riffing, I have to have a chunkier sound. I like the fuzz. I don't want to be with the fuzz. If I was going to be a cover band, because that's about the only place that I feel I belong, if it's fuzzy, very orange amp style, I only feel like I'm just carrying a torch for a band that's no longer around. When it comes to good fucking doom, the doom that hits me the hardest has that hard, heavy fucking guitar sound, fat fucking bass. You can even distort it a little bit, and the downtuning is so important. So I feel like this band would definitely be up my alley. And if they're mixed right and they don't have that flat fucking 80s tone, you put some crack in there. People always look at me, they're like, why do you fucking tune your snare drum so high? I'm like, dude, you can have the heaviest, most down-tuned guitar riffing, and what cuts right through the middle of that is crack. And I think of it as an anvil hitting iron every fucking time, like just a hammer coming down. That's why, if I'm about to do a show, I'm going to be like, yep, I'm about to drop the hammer. That's exactly what I mean. It's going to punch you in the face. It's going to leave you bloody, and you're going to be like, more, please. So I definitely need to check this band out. I love the artwork on the album. It's very simplistic, but yet it has dimension to it. Ahab's record, fucking just, the artwork just makes me want to cry. It's so good. It really kind of lets you know, hey, this is real. Once you put this in and you start listening to it, you're going to get taken for a fucking ride. So that's another thing. Prolific album covers. So many of these great Doom debut records have some killer fucking covers.
Yeah.
I love it because besides that, like the death metal bands and black metal bands definitely give you that sense of we're telling you what's about to happen and you get crushed. I love it. So that's kind of where we're at as far as great debut records. I know some of mine weren't, but you know, it's so damn difficult. Do you have some honorable mentions?
Yeah, I just want to throw some quick honorable mentions out because I only chose 6, and that was one more than I was supposed to. Bell Witch. Bell Witch is outstanding. 30-minute songs, more than 30-minute songs. They're out of Portland, Oregon, really good. Catatonia's first few albums are out fucking standing. Really good death doom, melodic. My Dying Bride, Turn Loose the Swans, outstanding. One of the pioneers of death doom as well. To me, that's their best album by far. Temple of the Void is another. They're at I think they're at a Denver, Colorado, or Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs, Colorado. Really good, and those guys know their metal really well too. If you ever get to catch an interview with them, really good. Swallow the Sun, another really good death doom band. Outstanding. And Sleep. I fucking love their debut album. That's one of my favorites. That was probably the hardest one for me to leave off, is that Sleep album. I love that album. I've always loved that album. And the last one that I have is Candlemass. I mean, not Candlemass, Trouble. Trouble's outstanding, super doomy, really good in the early 80s, late 70s. But sorry we couldn't put them all up, but we would if we could. But we're already at 1 hour and 21 minutes.
You can see we're very passionate about this, people. And as a matter of fact, Andy DJ Samina mentioned earlier about Trouble. That's why I was like, you know, this list is difficult. And finding those pinnacle debut records that when they came out, it upped the game. And that's kind of how I viewed Sabbath, because that first record was good, but it wasn't Master of Reality. And I think that was right around the time that they took over the production of their own stuff. And it was really, really well done and heavier. But like I said, I got to give it to the 80s and the 90s more when it comes to doom metal, because so many different bands took it to a whole nother level. It's like we had all the thrash. We had all of, well, I'm not even going to mention hair metal because fuck that. They had nothing to do with it. They were bubblegum Barbie fucking, wannabe, in my opinion. So we're talking about guys that would play slower and darker, but had the heaviness of what death metal was bringing, what thrash was like really bringing to the table. They took those elements and slowed it down, and man, a whole new level of heavy was born. So you guys have been out fucking standing, as always. You make this so much fun for us. As I'm sure you're probably very well aware that we're very passionate about metal in general, but Doom is just such a, I don't know, I never miss a chance to talk about it because it is my favorite genre. And the heavier it gets, the better it gets, in my opinion. But, I think we will do a little bit of a series here. As far as debut albums that are in each of the most killer fucking genres of metal that have made such a mark that there's just, they have to be mentioned. You know what I mean? And we love hearing your guys' ideas as well. Mouseball, you always hit that shit on the mark and bring up some awesome selection. Everybody tonight has. And one of the coolest parts for me, and it's like, so many of you out there knew a bunch of mine before I mentioned them, and that was fucking sick. I'm like, just wait, I wanted to surprise you. Oh, that's really cool to know. Mousebomb says, love Doom chatting. Thanks for the stream. Aaron says, thrilled to be here and love the conversations. And I mean, that just means so much to us that after 3 fucking years, we're still bringing really good, valuable content to you guys, especially we're all united under heavy metal. And, I think we've opened, there are multi-generations that watch this show, which I think is fucking just sick as fuck. And we're opening up, some of y'all to some new bands that maybe you never gave a shot before, and you are now, and people are like, wow, thank you. And that makes it all the better for us. Because we're just 2 old metal guys that grew up in the heyday. But to us, this shit is gold, and just absolutely love doing this for you guys. Oh, thanks, Cody, man. That's fucking awesome. He says, killer episode, guys. Can't wait till we can talk metal in person together, and we will. And I want to take a moment to say something that is very, very near and dear to my heart. I could not be happier that Adversaricon is joining me in the first production of Morgrot Entertainment horror film and soon to be instant classic, The Chainsaw Sisters, as Ezekiel, the head of the satanic cult. I have no doubt that Adversaricon is going to bring such a lot of darkness to this role. He is going to play the fuck out of it. And the fact that so many of my close brothers are in this film, just like Cody as well. Cody out there, the artist for Defile the Crown Art, which I always have trouble saying. I'm so sorry. But so happy to have you in it as well and being on this journey together. So, guys, if you stay peeled to the Facebook pages, you'll find out more about that. If you haven't followed yet, you can follow the Chainsaw Sisters on Facebook. Probably soon to be Instagram, but mostly on Facebook. So definitely keep up with that. And hopefully we have brightened your Tuesday evening, or darkened it for that matter, as you're heading into the home of the week. Hopefully it's a good one. Okay, I'm sure you probably figured that one out. But anyway, there is so much more awesome programming coming. This Thursday, my brother from another mother is going to be on Reapers Underground this Thursday, and that is Aaron, Markham, who is a actor, director, and special effects master, who has coined the pecker hole, which we'll be talking about in great length on Thursday for the killer fucking film that I am also honored to be a part of, which is Killer Cox. And no, it's not a porno. We're talking about mutant fucking chickens, you bastards. But he'll be on with me on the Underground this Thursday. And yes, guess what? This Saturday, we are going to have another edition of the goddamn program with a special guest host along with us. And she will knock your socks off in one fashion or another. So definitely stay tuned, stay peeled for all this wonderful stuff. There's a couple more comments here. Oh, absolutely. You guys are so fucking welcome. You are the best fans in the world that I am pleasantly and Adversaricon as well, I'm sure. Glad to have you part of the Morgrot universe and a dysfunctional family that we are. Keep one foot in the fire and one on the ground, and most importantly, stay heavy.